Welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Ross the Oliver Man. I desperately wanted to continue this project and have this put back together already. As you've noticed, I haven't had many videos coming out. Well, I got so far along on this project and I had a little snag in it, and I can't find the piece that I need to show you. Just a second. All right, so I was going to put this new clip on that came, and our throwout bearing piece here, and it decided to shatter the cast. So that's my bad luck, maybe my stupidity. I don't really think I was doing anything wrong. So anyway, that is what it is. It's just that casting could not take any sort of driving, I guess. When I hammered the rivet, I must have missed or something. I don't really know how I did that, but there it is. So the only place I could find that you could get one was in Canada, and as I understand, the border is closed and the place has to like meet at the border and ship the stuff across, and they only do that once a week. Last time I ordered from it, it took about a month to get it, so I'd say this project is delayed a month. So anyway, instead of doing nothing and not having videos, I guess we will do some other things in the meantime. I've always got plenty stuff to do, although I really wanted to wrap this up. So I think we will continue equipment tour and maybe do tillage stuff. At least plows. I don't know how far we'll get. We'll see how long the video is by the time I start talking. And I think we will stick with tractor drawn implements this time, and later on I may do one just on horse tools, because I've got a whole slew of Oliver horse tools, but we'll just stick with the tractor implements right now. So we'll go get started. All right, first up in our lineup, because I'm going to try to go oldest to newest, if that's possible, or at least get close. But the first one up is this 134 plow. You've seen it. I just got it last year, and I've mentioned it in a few videos. Single bottom plow on steel, and at first glance, it looks similar to a Plowmaster. However, I have found that the thicknesses of everything is not the same. They are lighter. It sort of has this multi-beam construction with the rivets, and it's a wheel lift, not the rooster comb lift, which came later, I guess. I've never seen one of these 134s with a rooster comb, but not saying that that didn't happen. It's very possible. They did make an earlier style of the rooster comb on the older plows, where the comb looks different, and you maybe have seen that before. But anyway, 134 plow. I can't imagine that there's very many of these around anymore, because years ago guys would have got rid of them, traded them in, and then these probably would have been some of the first things to get scrapped, because when you went to two bottom plows, one bottom was pretty well obsolete. So I don't know how many survived. I need to find some Holland hitch parts, if you know where any are, because this one has been welded solid with a twist clevis in it. So it is no longer the way it should be, and I would like to put it back. So if you know where any of this stuff is, I wouldn't mind to have some. So anyway, 134 plow, kind of neat. You don't hardly ever see them, so there it is. All right, if we go in age order, I believe this is the one that would come next. This is a 214B tractor gang plow. This is actually older than I thought, but then I found this piece of literature. I got this from a local friend who he got into collecting plows, I guess, because he wanted to have a plow day at his house, and he had this one. He called me one day and he said, "I got something you need." And I said, "I don't know." He sent me a picture, and I said, "You're right, I do need that." And it was cheap enough, could not pass it up. It had the wrong coulters on it when I got it, but I was lucky enough to find some original ones that match in, because these are a little bit different in diameter of the arm and stuff. So got those on there. I've never really taken it out. It was behind the 88 in that one video way back when I first started doing YouTube, was when I got this plow, and I had been playing with it. It was hooked behind that 88 because in the video you can hear it squeaking behind me as I'm pulling it around, taking the 88 for a drive. And I need to get it freed up more. This adjuster handle is stuck, and so that's a sad story, because you know that's not gonna just participate easily. It's gonna be a lot of work probably to get that apart and make it go again. But I may try Crazy Dave's trick and dunk this in some Evapor Rust and see what I can accomplish. But anyway, it's a project for another day. It's missing the front half of the hitch. I'd like to find the correct front piece to bolt on so we could put that back like right. But anyway, it's not in the junkyard because it's here, so that's kind of what I operate under. Even if they're not in ideal conditions outside, they're at least not on the boat to China. So there you go. Here is a 100 Plowmaster 2-bottom. Came from locally around here. I'd always wanted an Oliver plow, and my grandpa went to an auction and found this one and pulled it home. And that was his first experience with a pull-type Oliver plow, to which he learned quickly that when you pull them down the road, they do a lot of this. So that's because of the way the hitch is made. It's not really, you know, a rigid hitch, which is good when you're plowing, because I think that's one of the mistakes people make when they set up their plow on some of the other brand plows, which I have some we could look at too, but their hitches are made with like adjustable holes and stuff, and you can bolt things solid. And I think guys, when they adjust the plow, they use the hitch to try to force the plow one way or the other, and that doesn't really work. That's not what you're supposed to do. You should be able to pull the plow with a log chain and have it just follow along in the furrow. So anyway, you don't want your hitch rigid to do a good job. But this is a 100 Plowmaster. It was most likely totally red, and then for some reason I decided if I was going to put it behind a 77, I wanted it green, and I kind of regret that now. I might, if I get it out again. I don't think I did that great a job on the paint, so it may be easy to just paint it all red again. And then again, it might have been green. I don't remember. I don't remember what I came up with. Parts of it are red. I'm pretty sure it's all red though. Yeah. There's a spot I missed underneath. It was red. So I'll probably put it back red one of these days. I have plowed with it. It works great. It didn't even have the best points on it, and it still worked great. So it's been back here in the corner of the shed, and since then my plow collection has grown quite a bit. So anyway, this one lucked out and got to live inside. But a Model 100 Plowmaster 2-bottom. From the Fleet Line era, I should say. That's when these plows, the late, like the Oliver 70, they came out in that era and then lasted up into the, almost into the Supers. I don't know if you could still get one then before they updated models, but basically think of this as like the end of the 70 and then into the Fleet Line era plows. Also, it has the Holland hitch on it. If you've ever seen that quick release hitch, that is what it is called. It was made in Holland, Michigan. Somewhere hanging on here before I leave and is the, there it is. I need to throw these tubes away. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was thinking just throw them out of my way. But here is the clevis that you need to make this go. Do not try to use a twist clevis with these plows. You will regret it, because you'll have a hard time getting it to let loose. At least I've found that to be the case anytime that I've experimented with that. But this is an original plow clevis for this. So that's what they look like if you need to find one. All right, next up, we will go ahead and throw this in here. This is a number 2 subsoiler. I got this from a guy that lived on the opposite end of the county as me, I saw it on Facebook Marketplace, advertised as a subsoiler, and I of course recognized what it was, and I knew I had to have it. He was a guy who was quitting farming. He had Minneapolis Molines and whites, and I'm talking big ones, like, you know, the G1355s and whatever. And then, so he obviously, they were Minneapolis Moline people when White Motor bought them out, and then they continued with white the same way I did with Oliver and white. So anyway, but he had this, and he was thinking that it was a cockshut, which of course it's not. It's an Oliver #2 with the wheel lift and not the hydraulic cylinder. I have used this. It works pretty good. The only thing I have noticed is that your wheel has a tendency to slip. I really think that probably putting a wheel weight in there would be good, or filling the tire with ballast, because it'll just slide sometimes if it's really hooked in the ground. These are not the right rims for it. He has found rims or something, because you can tell on some, I don't know if both, at least that one, somebody's welded the center into that rim. And then I ended up finding, I think that it should have bigger tires on it. I don't think these are quite right. Somebody had that lug tire and sold it to me for next to nothing, so I went that route. But I think it's just a shade too narrow. And then this one I had on hand for something else, and then I thought it kind of balanced it out because it's kind of too small too. So anyway, it does work. I like to play with it. It really makes the old tractors bark. You can have her pretty well buried down in the ground. I do know though, there's several times, like I said, I've hooked it tight enough where I had to unhook it from the tractor and pull it backwards to get it up out of the ground. But anyway, #2 subsoiler, and there it is. Here is another plow that I bought because I think they're just cool as can be. And when I got it, it had already been started to be parted out, so I did not get everything with it. But this is a TNT plow, a 2-bottom. If you do not know the story on these, they are subsoiler plows. Behind each bottom is a smaller plow point and bottom, if I don't stand in the light so you can't see it. And the idea was that while you were plowing, you were also subsoiling. However, this presented a slight problem in the olden days, and that was the fact that the older tractors just didn't have enough weight in their rear end to pull it, you know. So it was kind of a flop. Guys bought this, they were unhappy. Then they got mad, so they thought, we'll take a torch out. They cut off the little subsoiler bottom. Well, then it's not spaced right at all, so then it didn't plow right. So everybody was unhappy, and a lot of these went to the junkyard. Essentially, most of the pieces are the same as the 100 Plowmaster I have found. So if you're missing pieces, and it's something that's not unique to the TNT plow, you can probably get it off of a 100 Plowmaster. That's what I had to do with the hitch and some other little things. I've got coulters there for it. I'm blessed with things growing this lovely green stuff, which I just hate, but that's the way it is. So I need to pressure wash this off and get going again. It needs tires bad. One thing that somebody pointed out, and I don't know, I guess there's no way we really ever know, they made 2 styles of these, and what I mean is the rear weight was different. And I guess nobody has seen one on rubber that has this style weight. So either someone converted my plow over, or maybe they did make some that way, but nonetheless, I guess I have the old style weight with rubber tires, which is unusual. So TNT plow, I think they look sharp as can be when they're fixed up. Something neat. So I've been attempting it for several years and never got any farther. I got stuff freed up and cleaned up and found parts and whatever. So it's just a matter of getting it done one day. I think this one, yeah, even the handle's free on this one, because like I said, I've been messing with it, trying to get it ready to go. But we really need to get on the ball with this one, because this one is too unusual to just let sit. So that'll be a future project, but it is a TNT plow. Now back here, you may think, why in the world do you have this cobbled up piece of garbage? It is obviously a pull type plow that somebody has cut up and converted to a 3-point, but I gave next to nothing for it on an online auction. I bought it the same time as I bought another one. I don't remember which one it was, but this is the remnants of a 109 plow, and you can tell by the 90-degree frame thing there with the cast curve block there. And the claim to fame of the 109 plow was that it was the first one to use the Radex bottoms, where you could throw away the plowshares and what have you. So I felt like this had to be saved. It'd sure be cool to find the missing pieces and put it back, but that'll be next to impossible, I'm sure. But it is the remnants of a 109 plow, and there it sits. All right, now I guess we should have stuck with like maybe done it all pull types and then went to semi mounts and 3-point, I don't know, but we're gonna go down the line here. So here's my pair of 3241 plows. You've seen them both in videos. Here's the nice 2-bottom that I got on an auction that's just, I mean, straight as can be. So I have a 2-bottom again, and then back here is the one that I converted over to 3-bottom because it was a 3-bottom originally in its life, and then somebody took off the back bottom and it just had one of the brackets hanging out and nothing else. So there's that, and it needs to be finished. Coulters are a no-go. I just slapped them on there. I'm missing. It's not going to work with this style of spring coulter on here. These are actually the coulters off of that 5540 pipe plow, and they stick up at an angle with the spring more, and that won't work on this style frame, at least in the front. So I need to find coulters of the older style to put on this, but I have a pair, 2 and 3 bottom, and you've seen it before, so there's not much more to say about that one. But 2 3-point plows. Here we have, of course, the 5440 power traction hitch plow, which you've seen because I plowed with it with the 770. And also a very unusual plow to find, because I would say that a lot of them got scrapped because it really only worked with the power traction hitch. I'm sure guys tried to convert it and make it work as a 3-point. Probably didn't work very good. The power traction hitch is what does your lifting, so you really need the correct stuff to make it go. This plow I had at the fair this year. If you were there, you saw it behind the 770. And it's also the one that's got some of the parts on it from viewer Steve that sent it to me. So thank you again, Steve, for all that stuff you sent, because we definitely made use of it. It's on here and we plowed with it, and hopefully we'll get to play with it more this next year. But at least we got it to where we can hook up to it, and there's not a lot that has to be done. So we're making progress. 5440 power traction hitch plow. And then over here we have my pair of the truss frame plows here, the 4340s, and I have the 3-bottom and then that 4-bottom, which I bought last year too, and you saw that on videos because we plowed with it and did different work to it. Basically just put a cylinder on it and went. I don't think I really did anything to this plow. Never even put different tires on, and I see that one's flat again. Obviously a plow that was in a building somewhere that probably collapsed, or was just left there. The plow had sunk down in the dirt. You could tell because of the way the rims are that they're pretty rusty on one side. So anyway, another plow that was saved from the scrapyard and came from auction time, of course. Pretty neat old plow. You can still see the remnants of the decals, a little bit of paint. Pretty straight old plow. I don't think there's really any welding on it to speak of, other than the welding I did, because of course if you remember in one video or 2 videos or 7 videos, I don't remember, this handle was broken, so I had to make it more better and kind of beefed it up. It had been patched and then it was broke through the patch and everything, so I ground all that off and started over and, you know, added a piece of steel on and tried to blend it in where you can't really tell that that's not supposed to be there. But, you know, if you know, you know. But we're back in business with it, and like I said, it plowed pretty good. I have to say, it plowed better than that other semi-mount plow that I bought last year. So good plow. It's going to need some coulter work. They're getting pretty thin, but it's good enough for who it's for. It's not like it's going to see a ton of action. This one, actually, I got from a trade, and I need to put a tire on because I see this one has left the building. I had another Plowmaster that I bought for parts, and I think I bought them for that TNT plow. And after I got what I wanted off of it, it was still too good a plow to junk, and ended up trading it to a kid who had this because he wanted a 2-bottom plow to fix up to pull behind his old tractor. So I drove up to northern Indiana and we just swapped. So this one needed some work, that one needed some work, and we just traded, and everybody was happy. So I had a plow that I didn't have, and he had one that he didn't have, and we're good to go. So I don't remember if I have ever plowed with this, to tell you the honest truth. I'm sure I did when I first got it going, but I don't think I've done very much with it. It's been several years. I intended to do it last year when we were plowing all that stuff, but finally it got to be where we just had to get stuff planted and didn't have time to play anymore. But 4340 3-bottom, 4340 4-bottom. Okay, next along here we have the 5540 semi-mount pipe plow. This, in all rights, should have been numbered the 5440, but as you recall, that is the number they assigned to the power traction hitch plow. So by the time this came along, in order to avoid confusion, they made this a 5540 instead of a 5440. So semi-mount pipe plow. Probably I would associate this more of the era with like the 1800, especially the checkerboard. This would be the plow that was in the literature for the checkerboard. And this came from a local farm. My dad bought it years ago when he started farming. I guess he bought it, I don't know. Either he or Grandpa bought it. I think Dad did, because I traded him an Alice Chalmers plow for it. But it was sold at a neighboring farm, you know, several miles away, and they had it for years, and it was set up as a 5-bottom. Then when Dad bought it, he wanted to pull it with 1655 or 1650, so dropped the 5th bottom, and this bottom just sat in the corner of the shed. And I have since put it back on because I have an 1800A, and I'd like to, you know, get this going and set it up. And I've been hunting parts. As I said, we were missing the coulters forever, and then I ended up finding those back later. I got these coulters, which are off a later style plow. I'm not happy with the way that they fit up here in front, and I haven't quite figured that out yet. I don't know. I run into some interference if the hitch turns, so I think maybe my problem is the hitch is turning too far, but I don't remember. I just know when I had it hooked up to the tractor and was moving it, there was one way you could turn where I felt like this was going to interfere, and this blade is even wore way out, so that would not really be, you know, if you put a new blade on like it should have, it's going to make it worse. That's what I'm saying. And this style hitch is not adjustable. It's pretty well set up like it is. No holes to move like the later ones. I'm sure that was an improvement that they figured out early on, was that it sure would be handy to be able to move that back and forth. So anyway, coulter is slid all the way out, and I never really got very far in this project. I bolted the beam back on. I made a little piece there to extend my lift rod like you need when it's a 5-bottom, and then I found these coulters and I kind of just slapped them on so that they were out of the way, because if I had them laying somewhere I might lose them again. Didn't want that. As you see, I really did good with that one. I just clamped on the old Chinesium vice grip there to hold it up. So we got to get back to this project too one of these days. I got enough stuff to do till I'm 300, so probably won't live that long, but at least now you can go back on this video when you buy these things at my auction someday when I'm dead, and then you can know where we were on the project and pick it up from there. So this one has had a rough life, it looks like, at some point, and I don't know if that was done by my family or if that's the way it was before, but it's been braced up in places. So, you know, I don't know. That just doesn't look necessarily like Grandpa's handiwork, but it might be. But anyway, it's been working, so I guess until it totally falls off, I'm probably not gonna mess with it. And they made some different changes later on to try to fix that on the other plows, as you see. We'll go over here and look. But here, basically your wheel is supported on both sides, flat plates, and then these U-shaped pieces, whereas that one is just U-shaped pieces on one side. So probably another improvement. They figured out, hey, we better have that, because probably more than one guy ripped that off. But anyway, this plow plowed good. This was the last one we used when we quit plowing, or there did for a while before I got that 566. We used this plow and it worked like a champ. So the only thing we need to do is, like I said, now finish all this affair, because haven't used it since I put that on, because there's a lot of adjusting to do now. All of my plows are the spring cushion trip down here. That's pretty well all you needed. We don't have rocks at all, so you know, it would be foolishness to have anything else. There are occasions when you trip a bottom, but it's nothing that, you know, the spring cushion is good enough, is what I'm saying. You wouldn't need anything else, but you do need something more than just the shear pin, because you would end up shearing pins. So the spring cushion trip has worked really great down here. Now on to this poor feller, which has growed up in the weeds pretty good. Usually every summer I pull all the plows out and then mow this area and then park them back, but didn't get that done this year, so just gonna have to bear with me. This is a 4441 pull type pipe plow, and I bought this on an auction time auction because you never see a pull type plow this big. I really wanted an on land plow, and this is actually set up as a 6 bottom plow, and to be on the land you pretty well have to have 6 to have enough room for your tractor to drive. However, it is not quite kosher, and I'll show you what I mean. Now, if you look at the literature for these, they came about in the era of like the Super 99s, because there is literature with it being pulled by a Super 99. In those pictures where it is set up as a 6 bottom, it is in fact set up with this style front frame, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But this is not right. If you had a 6 bottom, it was a 2 bottom extender piece, and this is 2 1 bottom pieces bolted on, and this one is not very good. So I'd really like to find the 2 bottom top part, the piece of pipe with the flange. I doubt that's going to happen, so plan B is going to be to make one. I'll get a piece of pipe like this and end up sawing it and welding it to this flange. If that doesn't work, I guess my second choice is to find another semi-mount pipe plow and make it a parts plow and saw that off and make what I need to do. But that's one of the big pieces I've been looking for to make this go, because I want to put it back as good as it can be. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, as far as making this the way I think it should be, is this front part of the frame. Now, the main difference between a 4440 and a 4441 is right here. On this plow, the frame is connected. If you see that video of that Oliver guy, he's got a 4440, and this is not all the way over here. This piece just kind of sticks out there in the open, and then this ends back in here somewhere, and that's the way it is. However, In the early literature, the frame is set up like this, even if it's a 6 bottom. But all the later ones I've seen, and what would make sense looking at this one, as far as making it where it would work good, the frame needs to be extended one more bar. So this should have a long bar off of here. Your wheel moves over so that it's running in line with the back bottom, and then everything else kind of moves over a little bit. And I think that that's probably the best choice if you've got it as a 6 bottom. So I've kind of went back and forth. Part of me says just take the back bottom off. It's a 5 bottom plow, forget it, you know, and whatever. But then the other part of me says 6 bottom is cool. How often do you see that? Let's make it a 6 bottom like it should be. So I've scavenged this beam off of a plow, and I think that that will, I'll be able to replace that beam with it, and that will extend that up here where it should be. Then I don't remember exactly, I'd have to look at the literature again. Off of that piece, there's another piece that bolts to of thinner steel, and it curves in, and then it bolts to this part of the frame, and then your lift and all that stuff comes out, and it would actually move back to the here, you know, because your wheel, everything's going to move over and back if you put it as a 6 bottom. The wheel will move back, and because it'll be in line, so it'll be back here somewhere, and then the frame will curve forward. That piece of lift will be up here, and then or wherever it is, it'll be on that one, and then there's a piece that comes out, bolts to it, and then clamps to it with like this style thing. So that would all have to be fabricated, but I do have that piece of plow beam should I decide to go that route. But I got a lot of irons in the fire, and this just hasn't been one. I really wish I could find that. I know where there's one at, but the guy wouldn't sell it. So until then, this has kind of been on the table. If anybody knows where that's at, I would love to have one. If you've got a 2 bottom piece, all I need is the piece of pipe with the 2 things. I don't need the bottoms. I got all that. And or if you had a whole plow that you had parted out or wanted to part out, and you have all those pieces I need to make this the way I want to make it, let me know, because I definitely would be interested. But a 44-41 pull type plow. All right, here is the 565 4 bottom that we always had. Grandpa got this with the 1650 as a package because he told the salesman that he wanted a tractor and 4 bottom plow, and this is what came here. So this poor plow is very well used, and we have not used it for several years, and I started getting it back, working on it. You know, we put coulters on in that one video because Grandpa took them off. He said in the fall they were nothing but a pain as far as trash goes. We still have to get that one freed up because it is stuck and the blades obviously wore out, so that's something that we need to do to it still. So we need to work on the front coulter too, because it's stuck, and you see the slop in this. I found some of these new old stock, so I've got that to replace it. So we get this pin. The pin is actually stuck in the arm, I think. Well, maybe not. But anyway, everything's been rotating as one, and it's not supposed to be. And then you're supposed to have a spring on here. So anyway, we can make all that happen. I think I have everything to do it. And then we just need to check over and make sure everything's tight, because I think that something was loose on here. What is it? But anyway, I might have got it tightened up when we messed with it last time. But it is a 565 semi-mount. Yeah, there you can see 565. And there actually is the remnants of the serial number tag. I would venture to guess that the dealer put the serial number tags on these. And the only reason I say that is because they're never in the same place twice. I've seen them there. I've seen them up on the hitch. I've seen them on the front beam. They're just all over. So either the factory wasn't consistent, or they shipped them in an envelope and the dealer was tasked with slapping that on there. And I would say that's the way it was, because I would venture to guess that these were shipped on a pallet in pieces. That's the way a lot of tillage equipment was shipped. So it's plowed a lot of acres. I wouldn't say that maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't know how many years he used it to plow with, but it has plowed a ton of acres is what I'm saying. So it's time for some attention. You know, the only thing he pretty well did to it was put points on it, you know, the wear parts as it needed it, but otherwise it really got no maintenance. So, and the sad thing about tillage equipment is it sits outside, and I'm no better. I don't have enough shed space to put all this under, so it kind of ends up becoming the loser, and it gets to be outside, which is not good for it. But I'm going to try to bring them all back around and make that better. So 565 4 bottom semi mount, and so that'll be upcoming, as you know. All right, another plow here, and I really wish I had gotten prepared and cleaned up and pulled them out and, you know, knocked down some of these weeds, but I didn't, so get used to that. This is a 565 5 bottom plow. You've seen me work on it in videos before when I was messing with stuff. I've got, I think, everything to put it back together. However, I have discovered some things about it that I don't know. If I could find another 5 bottom, I would probably abandon this one. Somewhere on here the beam is cracked, and there it is. So it's been welded up here before, and it's cracking there, and I don't know. Like I said, I think I know where there's another 5 bottom at, so if I get the other 5 bottom bought, this one may end up becoming a parts plow, even though we already did all that work on it. This is the one we had to put that new hub on the back because it did not have, the bearings were out really bad. And then also this, the bearings are out of, which is, this was kind of what I wanted this plow for. When I originally bought it, it was going to be a parts plow. It was for that wheel assembly to go on this plow, but then I decided I'd like to have a 4, 5, and a 6, so I decided to save this one too. But anyway, time will tell. There's some more cracking. So just some things that are not really that big a deal to fix, but if I happen to find one that's in immaculate shape, I will, of course, probably switch gears and turn this into a parts plow. There's something I don't have enough of, and I don't remember what it is. It may be the arms for the coulters. That one's broken, so I don't know. Time will tell, but you've seen it before, and you may see it again. It's a 565 semi-mounted plow, of course, 4 with the add-on bottom. So there you have it. All right, here, falling over again, as I see, because we set that up in a video once before too. This is a 566 semi-mount plow, and basically the only difference between it and a 565 is that the main backbone is 5 bottoms, and then it's got an add-on bottom for the 6 bottom. So anyway, I think that was the only difference in the actual frame construction, you know, and then you could get any combination of stuff you wanted, because this is actually 14s. So I know that the 566 plow came 5 bottom standard, and then you could add on. So that's the only difference. Otherwise it's an identical plow. This plow, if I have told the story before, I think I have, came from a local town, and it was bought new with a 1750 gas, which seems around here like quite a load for a 1750 gas, a 6 bottom plow. And I would say they discovered that because it looked like the plow had never been used. I got it out of the building. It was sitting upside down, and like they pitched it in there with the loader and just forgot about it. So it was all pretty well new, and I hooked to it and have plowed with it, and it works great. So it's probably getting down to where it needs some points on it. When I keep them out here, I try to keep them up on boards, but it has slid off the board, obviously, as it is laying over. So, and if they sit long enough, the board goes down on the ground too. So anyway, we'll try to get this out and play with it maybe this year too. I always used the 1855 to plow with it, and it worked pretty good. So 566 semi-mount plow. All right, finally in our tour is the latest plow I bought, which was the 546 plow. You've seen it in multiple videos. We took it out and plowed with it. I've adjusted it 10,000 times, and I'm still not happy with it. I'm still not happy with the way it plows. It is a very nice original plow. I'm glad that it's here and not in the scrapyard, but I'm losing my patience with it pretty quick because it has just been a bear to try to get it adjusted right. They had the hitch flipped the wrong way. When I bought it, it was upside down, and then it always wants to ride the back bottom out of the ground. And I've adjusted the hitch. I put it like the book says. I tried that, doesn't work very good. I've tried it in, I've tried it out, I've slid it over, I've done everything, I guess, but the right thing. So we're gonna have to play with it more and see. I had it on the 1755, as you remember, and the 3-point hitch is not quite right on it either, I guess. You know, that's a tractor that I recently bought too in the last year or two, whatever, and haven't really had time to mess with it. But the 3-point hitch doesn't want to hold where you put it, and sometimes it drops it down too far and whatever. And if you drop it down too far up here, then it wants to ride that out, so that makes sense. But I think maybe this year I'll hook it to a different tractor and see if I can get it to plow correctly. Because when I do get it to plow correctly, it works great. But every so often you'll look back and then it'll kick over and this back bottom will be wanting to ride out of the ground. So this is one that I believe was a 5 bottom, and then they dropped it to 4 years ago, because as you saw in those other videos, I have the 5th bottom, and you can tell it's been laying like upside down in a building somewhere. So, you know, it's definitely got potential. It just needs time to polish it. I didn't have a lot of time this spring. You know, I dedicated a lot of time to playing with these plows, but there were just not enough hours in the day to get it all done. So hopefully this year maybe we can figure out the magical secret to this one and get it to go the way it should, because it was really starting to get frustrating to me, because I tried, like I said, I tried every adjustment I could think of, and it just seemed like I was making it worse. So we'll try it again and see if we can't get it to do what it's supposed to. You can tell obviously from the remnants that they probably had one of those harrows on it too at some point, but I never got that. Very nice original plow, 546, which would have been the plows from like the era of the 55 series tractors. Backbone is much bigger than like on the 565 plows. It's a big taller box beam. I think it's 8x8, but I don't remember exactly for some reason. It has the tubular steel. The late 565s had this too. Instead of that welded piece that looked like it was made out of a flat plate with a piece of channel iron kind of bent on it and molded, they went to this tube steel tail wheel assembly. And so then the later ones obviously continued that trend. So there you go, 546 plow. And like I said, I think it's the last one I bought, and also probably the newest one I have. Well, I think we're gonna call that quits for this video, because I think we're well over an hour of just raw footage. So we'll see what that gets edited down into, but we'll just call this a video on plows, and we'll come back and do other tillage tools and things later. As always, if you enjoy the videos, give them a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. That helps the channel out. Leave comments. All that interaction helps us out, and then I'll be able to do more interesting things that maybe you will enjoy. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.